Okay, I'll call the meeting to order. We'll start with the assessor for roll call.
Mike Morrison for Larry Stein. He will be back. He's on a important phone call with the governor's office right now.
Miles Davidson, District 3.
Butch Freeman, County Treasurer.
Brian Mon.
Joe Blau for Kerry Bloomer.
Marissa Treat.
Mike Sullivan for Rick Warren. Brandon Holmes for the Sheriff, Tommy Johnson.
This meeting was properly posted April 17th. And Brandon, would you like to lead us in the pledge?
Yes, sir.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, sir. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of March 21st,
So
April
moved.
1st, and April 4th?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any individual consideration on the consent docket? If
Move to
not,
consent.
is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Our monthly report. Albert?
Good morning. I guess I get the clicker. Okay. If you look at the first page there, the general fund budget, as you can see, highlighted there at the very bottom is our general fund reserve balance of $1,679,738. And then let's fast forward to the next one here. Kind of give you a breakdown of what's paid out of the general fund reserve. Now, out of this 1.6, there is a pending transfer for employee benefits of $1 million. If that transfer is approved, that'll bring the general fund reserve down to $679,738. So we'll fast forward here to the general fund budget analysis. So as far as our ending cash balance there, we have a total of $34,531,517. And then so let's click on the next one. The general fund comparison here. Let's see. Hold on. Fast forwarded myself too much here. Okay. If you look at the on the second column there on the year to date, the 23-24 year to date actuals, our balance was 34,531, and then compared to the 22-23 year to date actual is 33,623. So we had an increase of 908,246 if you compare date 22, 23, and 23 and 24. And then the next page is the employee benefits one. On the year-to-date cash balance is $946,663, and this is as of March 31st. And then based on the transfers in premiums we received throughout for the year-to-date, and then based on those, we kind of projected. Based on those projections, looks like the employee benefits fund currently will be short $1,364,392. Now that amount definitely can change in the next 2 to 3 months. So,
Excuse me,
yes, sir.
the 1.3 million that is going to be short, but there's an item to transfer 1 million today, right?
Correct. Yes.
And so if that passes, then we'll be short 300 and some thousand, right?
At the moment, yes, but then that could change, the next couple months as well. Okay. And then on the medical and RX claims paid, these numbers are as of March 31st. So as you can see, 23-24 for medical was 13,792. Of course, compare that to the 22-23, which was 14,147. The RX was 9,331,000. So total for the medical and RX for 23-24 was 22,793,327. And then kind of compare that to the 22-23, slight increase of 207,245,93 once you compare the year to date there between the two fiscal years. Then at the bottom, paid claims is 19,166,468.72. And then, as you can see, 22-23 year was 17,509,649.69, which is a difference of 1,656,819 when you compare the two fiscal years. And then on the employee benefits comparison there, of course, your year-to-date cash balance there for the month of March was $946.63. Compare that to the March 22-23, which was a negative $96,242. So we're a little positive on that end compared to year-to-date. And then on the next tab, the capital project detail. Currently, under the highlight there on allocated funds is $169,530, and listed there. Of course, your ongoing budgeted capital projects is $8,897,500. I can't make that. My print's kind of small. 863 there. So, other than that, that's kind of brief synopsis of the financial statement. Do y'all have any questions? No? Okay, I do want to say one thing though. I just want to thank you all, the board itself, for being patient with us finance department with all the recent changes. So I appreciate you guys being patient with us, and hopefully going forward, it'll be a lot smoother.
Thank you. You
Thank
guys
you.
are doing a great job.
So just to clarify, we've had an increase in our budget of about 2.7%, while the costs and expenses for almost everything we're providing is going up 6 and 7 and 9%. The chart that you presented about the state and the county budget. Go backwards.
Let's see. Page 5. Okay.
General fund?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Is that accurate?
Yes, sir. Yeah. Based on current information, yes.
So we're going backwards. No, we can't.
No,
keep
no, you're
up
going
with- We
forward.
can't keep with inflation at 2.7% though.
I would think not, but
Okay, thank you.
Okay, is there a motion to receive his report?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Cody?
Good morning.
Morning.
Watch list this month looks a little bit different than last month. We have a couple of items that were removed. The court clerk's office had a couple, I'm sorry, not the court clerk, the county clerk's office had a couple of items on the watch list. They requested that those items be removed. We appreciate that. And then we have an item that's been on here for a while, $1 million for employee benefits. Change on that is that we do have a recommendation of going ahead and moving that funding. There's an agenda item later on your agenda to address that. But those are the changes to the watch list from last month.
Is there a motion to receive his report?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Mr. Wilkerson?
Good morning. Just touch briefly, Albert touched on some of this, but my reports kind of dive deeper into the averages where we're at this fiscal year versus last fiscal year. There's two reports on here. One matches up as of 3/31 to the financial reports. The next one's more current as of yesterday. So as of yesterday, our medical claims are down 1% compared to the prior fiscal year, and prescription claims are up 1%. So medical down 1%, prescription claims are up 1%. The biggest difference, we made a lot of prescription plan changes this fiscal year. We paid 47 weeks of prescription claims, paid a lot more weeks this fiscal year than the last fiscal year. At the same time, we paid 41 weeks of claims. So the actual cost for our weekly prescription claims have decreased by 14% this fiscal year. And again, we've paid many more weeks of claims, so we're not seeing those savings yet. Really, the projections, I don't have this on here, and I know there's been discussion of that. There's two reasons why we'll need additional funding. The first is we're going to receive less revenue, projected revenue. The second is I predict medical and prescription claims to go above what was budgeted by a small percentage. So medical, just based on averages now, what we've encountered this fiscal year, it should go up about 4%. In the ending the year, about 769,000 above where we budgeted at on, and just for comparison, 18.3 projected. Last fiscal year, we were at 20.8 million. That's a $2.5 million more last fiscal year than this fiscal year. Projection for prescription claims, I project we're going to go about 2% over the budgeted amount by about 244,000. Last year, prescription claims were about 543,000 more. It's really just going over what was budgeted, and that's why some transfers will be needed. The $1 million will get us into next month, and then we'll look at the averages, see where we're at, and go from there. Just as a reminder, last fiscal year we transferred an additional 4.25 million into employee benefits. I don't see us getting there at all. I see it about 2 million really, because projected revenue's less, claims are up slightly. That's what makes up about 2.2 million, about $2 million. And again, that's a moving target based on averages. So if our claims go up, that average will go up. But we're watching that very, very closely. Very closely. That's all I have unless there's any questions.
So in addition to the million, you think you're going to need another million before the end of the fiscal year?
Yes, sir, based on averages.
With 1.6 sitting in the till.
And that is coming way below the cost for last fiscal year.
And how much over budget are expenses and revenue?
So for my figures, revenue is down about 1.2 million. Claims are going to be projected about $1 million over, so that's 2.2 million. But that's, the claims are a moving target. You know, we're looking at those because those come in weekly. But we're doing way better than last fiscal year, but we're coming in over budget a little bit. We can do all we can do, and we can predict what we can predict, but it's one of the few things here that's a moving target. We get pretty close. We're pretty close to what the prediction was, but it looks like it's going to go over slightly.
Cody, you guys got recommendations about this?
Yes, we have a recommendation as it relates to the $1 million transfer. It appears last year from the revenue side, so we got two different issues kind of raising its head right now, a revenue issue and an expense issue. On the revenue side, when everything was determined for the initial budget, it appears after looking back that when Micah had prepared those numbers, the document, the Munis document, had an error in the document. And nobody caught it, nobody saw it until we started looking at this recently, which is where that $1 million to $1.2 million issue on the revenue side is. If we would have seen that last year, we would have started the balance. We would have budgeted more. It's just an error in that form. That form's been changed, so hopefully we don't see that going forward. On the expense side, from conversations with John, with the finance department and BET, there is a trend that looks like we're going to be under what we were last year, but maybe a little bit higher on expenses. But I'm still a little bit uncomfortable where we're going to wind up with on the expenses. We've been down all year. We recently had a check register that was way higher than every other register we've gotten this year. We had some, according to John, some one-time claims in there that aren't going to be ongoing. Now, others could hit in the future, but the register was like $789,000. Our highest register before that was like 589, and then we had like a 557, a 504, and then everything else was south of 500,000, most of them in the $400,000 range. So when you include that 789, that skews our average register claim north, right? So the question is it going to stay north? Now, what we've seen, what I've noticed since I've been here over the last 11 years is the last half of the fiscal year is generally more expensive on our plan than the first half. So is it that that's what we're starting to see and these numbers are going to play out for the rest of the year? Or was that an anomaly? And we don't know that yet. So that's where we're looking at the 1 million because we are fairly confident that we've got an issue there and that'll get us through. We're going to continue monitoring this. I've brought up some suggestions to look at maybe coming up with some different policies, procedures, how we fund, when we fund, kind of what we're doing. And so in our estimate of needs discussions, we're also going to be having those conversations about some options that we can move toward to try to alleviate issues on the revenue side. We're always going to be throwing darts at a wall on the expense side. I mean, that we can estimate the best we can. We don't know what that's going to be. But right now, we've got a two-headed issue. If we're only fighting a one-headed issue, it's a lot easier than coming at it from both sides. So we're going to start really looking at the way we do the funding side and the way the processes and everything work, so that maybe we can make some process changes that will help alleviate some of the issues.
Cody. So
Yes.
the larger registry that came in, was that larger number due to an increase in the volume of the overall claims, or because we had one or two or perhaps three that have now hit stop loss and we won't?
Well, I don't know about stop loss, and John can probably answer this a little better than me. My understanding is that 789 included some one-time expenditures. I think it was 2 or 3 cases. It was like $303,000 for those.
Correct.
Is that right? Yeah. So you take that 300,000 out and just kind of have that normal check register. I mean, we're back in kind of where when you look at the list, and John provided it, and I really appreciate all the information that he's provided us. The finance department and the county clerk's office has been great working with us. Christy in Butch's office. I mean, we really do have a good team working together trying to solve this. But when John provided all of those check registers, and you can see everyone that comes in, and they're all kind of, you know, right there. And then you got this one that is just a glaring anomaly. And hopefully it stays an anomaly and it's not a trend. But it's too early. That came in just, you know, like a week ago. So we don't really know where we're going to be. But hopefully the trend carries on like we've had for the rest of the fiscal year. And then we may not be another $1.1 million short. We may not be $400,000 short. We really don't know. But we do know that there's a potential of an issue. And so we're going to continue monitoring it to make sure that we can get through the rest of the fiscal year. If you do the 1 million transfer, that'll leave $679,738 in the reserve account. And it would leave $1,433,302 worth of items that are still on the watch list. So we're balancing a lot of things, and we're taking it seriously, keeping our eyes wide open. We'll have as many special meetings as we need. You know, it just one of the things in the process that we've talked about, there's some where we have to move money from one place before we get the money into employee benefits and then move money back. And so we get a not an apples to apples comparison when we're talking numbers. So one of the things that we've, you know, kind of preliminarily started talking about is, do we need to have maybe a second budget board meeting each month so that we do an earlier appropriation of the money so that we're not having to move and then replace and juggle money, because this is a multifaceted issue, and as many of those variables that we can take out of the equation so that we're only trying to battle a certain amount of unknowns, I think it'll make all of our lives easier, better, and it'll make the process more efficient.
Mr. Chairman, if you would. Cody, with that in mind, if you'll look up here, it says that we're at 43 weeks of paid claims for this FY versus the 36 of last year, so we're almost 10 weeks ahead. You know, has that been taken into consideration when we're talking about our transfer, and do we need to do this now versus come back in a couple weeks after we've reevaluated things and we start looking at our reimbursements that come in? And John, that's probably a question for you. What kind of reimbursements do we have coming in? What's our stop loss?
What our analysis, why we went ahead and I believe I can't speak to every member of BET because when we vote, we don't ask for everybody's rationale. But I think what we heard, and I think where most of us were coming from on making a recommendation here, is that we do have medical claims that are in that if we don't have a transfer, we're going to have to punt those down the road. The transfer in would enable us to make all of those payments to where we're not pushing bills,
We did
pushing
last year.
registers. Yeah.
So I mean, like, we're probably, it sounds likely that we're gonna push bills again, right? So when it comes to next month in July, we're probably gonna, or next month, we're gonna start pushing bills.
I
The
hope
next
not, but
FY.
I hope not. Last year, and of course we had to pass the hat, but last year we were able to get into a situation where we weren't pushing like we have in years past. That was one change that we did last year, was we got that stuff taken care of in that fiscal year instead of pushing into the next fiscal year. I think that would be great if we can accomplish that again this year. To your point, maybe we can't, maybe we can. It's still a little bit early to tell. But the biggest issue for us was we don't have the cash to pay all of the registers that are in right now.
And that $1 million will cover that.
Yes. Yeah. And when we were looking at what we thought we were going to need at the beginning of the year when we were budgeting, we thought there was another, $1.2 million in there. But due to that error in that document, that money actually wasn't in there. So this would get us to where we thought we were in the beginning, and then we'll kind of see that gets us to where we thought we were going to be on the revenue side, right? Now, after this transfer, now we're just battling. How close were we on our estimate for the expense side? So we're only looking at one side of it at that point.
The treasurer and I were talking about this yesterday, and it's a lot easier to tap the brakes if we start now versus when we're skidding right up on the ledge.
Yes, sir.
So if we are going to have a conversation with our departments about passing the hat, would you say we're at that point where it wouldn't be hurtful for them to be looking around for anything that they might could free up?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, if the numbers play out, John had provided us some information. And now, of course, that included the increased weekly averages based on this large register. But if that does play out, then it would be another, I think it was 1.095 million, which is more than what we will have left in the reserve account. If you do the $1 million, we'd have 679,000. So yes, I think as a worst case scenario, start having those internal conversations about where we can find it. And last year we looked at things other than the individual departments beforehand as well. I mean, whether it's PBA or other avenues that we've got to help shore it up. That way we've got a plan, so we're not having to have a knee-jerk reaction. We've got a solid plan. So
To the commissioner's, to the commissioner's point, BET is in the middle of the budget cycle, and in that, we always address carryover. Do we know what that number is? Because that could be a number, the overall number, not per department, but have we put it all together to see what our total carryover could be that we could tap?
no, and
That seems to me like instead of passing the hat, if we're carrying over, that might be the easiest place to go in and just.
Well, that would be, if we were passing that, that's what we would be doing, is having departments fund, which would then reduce the availability of funds to roll over in next year. Your seed corn, as the colonel likes to call it. It is so early in the process to know what that rollover is going to be. Next week, I believe Monday, is our first dive into estimate of needs. We've got 3 special meetings of BET scheduled for next week to have those conversations with all departments about what their needs are. My guesstimation is we'll probably be starting at a kind of a flat like we've done the last few years and try to make up for any increases that are needed due to inflation and others in our September supplement, which makes it difficult because we don't have all of our projections and our numbers. I mean, the assessor's office, I mean, they've got protests up until like the second week in July or whatever. I mean, we're already 2 weeks into the fiscal year, so we don't know exactly what the revenue is, let alone what our rollover amounts are going to be. So, but yes, that would be a potential, is funding from current departments, but that would be a reduction in the rollover, which is, we've used that regularly. We've relied on that to begin our next fiscal year.
Joe?
Cody, last year when we passed the hat, did everyone that has employees utilizing our insurance participate in that effort?
No. All of the, no.
Thank you.
I think we have a number of positions that are posted throughout the county too. That might be something to be mindful of, is if there's any position that we could hold off hiring, could bank some salary. I just think we need to be, it's mid-April, so it's not very early to be thinking about finding 400 grand. When we finished last year with $17,000, there's not a lot of room to suggest we have wiggle room. So,
Do you, off the top of your head, do you remember what the infusion for ARPA was last year to benefits? Seems like it was close to 2
I
million.
think John had that on his report, don't you?
Yeah.
If you pull up the,
I think the total was 2.4 million. So.
Right there, 2.294. Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
when's the month we vote on the increase for the employee premium if we do?
traditionally, the employee premium, we usually, BET has a recommendation on that usually in September. And then budget board would then address it then. That way, when employee benefits send out the notices for the annual renewal in November, well, the annual renewal is in November. When they send this stuff out in October, those changes are there. And those are things that we're going to we need to look at. And on the employer premium, we've talked about this. We generally always do it now to go into effect in July. When we discussed it, we don't have to do that now. We can make those changes for the September supplement when we kind of know where those dollars are. And I do think we need to start looking at some outside the box looks. Commissioner, you mentioned there's open positions. When there's open positions and we budget, we all get budget numbers, budget dollars to fund employee benefits. And if we have those vacancies, that money doesn't actually ever get to employee benefits. So they think they're going to have this much. We think they're going to have this much, but they don't because of vacancies that aren't filled, right? Or folks that are, if you're turning over, you can have one position that's filled the entire year that they say they want medical insurance and be on a plan, and you budget for it and you get those dollars, but you never actually put any of those dollars in to the plan because that person's there for 2 months and then they leave before the 3 months kicks in when they're eligible. And then somebody else is right there to replace that person. They're going to want it, but they're only there for a month. And you see how that, So you could theoretically, I'm not saying it happens on a regular basis, but you could have positions that are funded for the entire year that you're planning on that money going into employee benefits, but it never does because the position is never eligible. So we really, I think this is presenting us an opportunity to take a deeper dive and a look and see how we can maybe modernize, maybe make this plan better. Every year we kind of find something that we can really focus on and make better. Some things are things that we've kind of planned on looking at in the future, and some things are things that we look at out of necessity because something comes up that we didn't anticipate. I think what we can do here is use this as an opportunity to really look at how we fund this and see if there's some opportunities to make it better.
Well, the VOCC could put it on for a resolution for our departments, but obviously each elected has their own domain. But I would certainly encourage everybody to use restraint till we know we have this shored up, because to Commissioner Davidson's point, even if you were looking at the carryover, I think based on last year, we're not expecting a big carryover that I can see. So it wouldn't be safe to bet on, not saying what you're saying is wrong, but just it wouldn't cover the nut for what we've got. I didn't mean to prolong this, but I think this is serious. Is there any other questions for Mr. Wilkerson for his report? You have anything else further to add? Is there a motion?
Move to receive.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, speaking of the Board of Equalization, they've needed authorization to meet, extending from May 31st to July 31st. And there's an inordinate number of requests they're entertaining this year, I understand.
Yeah, I think they're able to take care of them. Usually this extension's in case there's any severe weather that we might be able to address, but it's a great way to be able to accommodate customers.
I believe they are hearing more cases this year than they have last year to help absorb that. So my thanks to them. Any questions? If not, a motion? Motion.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Brandon?
Yes, so this item is really for information purposes only. I've got some notes here so I don't miss anything, but really it's intended to be kind of an invitation for everybody on the board for an upcoming event in Oklahoma City. As you may know, the Oklahoma County Sheriff's Office was chosen by the National Sheriff's Association to host the 2024 Summer Conference. The sheriff chose me as a point of contact to help facilitate the event with the national team, the NSA's national team out of Washington, D.C. It's really been a privilege to work with them and kind of see how this thing works out and hashes out. So kind of the long and the short of it, this event is massive. And when I say massive, we're expecting at least 5,000 sheriffs and deputies from around the country. All 50 states will be represented. Hundreds of companies are going to bring in products that range anything from jail toothbrushes to fully decked out helicopters that are going to be on display in a large exhibition hall. Don't worry, we're not buying a helicopter. At both the 2016.
Can you at least get former Sheriff Wetzel on it?
Yeah. Oh, trust me, I'm sure he'll be here. So at both the 2016 and 2020 conferences, former President Trump and other national elected officials showed up to give remarks to the thousands of deputy sheriffs that are in attendance at this conference. We certainly anticipate that this conference is going to see visits from those same dignitaries. Obviously, that's classified, I guess, but we certainly anticipate they'll be here. Aside from political figures that are making stops, there's going to be a large complement of mainstream headliners that'll provide entertainment from music to comedy routines and the after-hours events. Some of the Oklahoma talent, as far as music, their agents have requested that we keep their names quiet for right now. But from the comedy side, Jay Leno. So I mean, it's going to be there's going to be some pretty large, big names that we see that are going to be present. In addition, the training opportunities this week is going to be extravagant. I think because we're centrally located, they had a record number of submissions for training. So 250 law enforcement experts from around the country submitted their classes to come in and train. There's going to be 11 different tracks that's going to encompass a wide variety from mental health to wellness to use of force to whatever. It's just the entire gamut. So really, this is the second largest annual law enforcement conference in the world. behind IACP. IACP is really, really big, but this is the second largest. So really, I just kind of wanted to bring this up. It is an honor for us to be chosen as its host. I think it's something that's historic for Oklahoma County. And so I'll play a short clip that we prepared for. This is the primary marketing video that's being sent out to all the law enforcement agencies around the country. Really, this effort started. I mean, when we chose the site, we were looking over the green field before the Omni was even built. So that's how long ago this has been. But we've been really knee deep in planning for about 3 years. So we'll play this short clip and then I'll address a few final things.
Hi, I'm Sheriff Tommy Johnson III, and I'm excited to welcome America's Sheriffs to Oklahoma City for the National Sheriffs Association Annual Conference, June 24th through the 27th, 2024. For the first time ever, NSA will meet in Oklahoma City, where you will experience the new and high-tech OKC Convention Center and Omni Hotel. They are within walking distance of the Marriott Gardens and Bricktown with its many restaurants and entertainment venues. You'll want to bring your family and visit the Frontier City Amusement Park, or National Cowboy and Western Heritage Museum, or First Americans Museum on the Oklahoma River, where you also find the Oklahoma River Sports Adventure Park. One stop you can't miss is a visit to the Oklahoma City National Memorial, honoring the 168 lives lost in the Oklahoma City bombing in 1995. Oklahoma City has it all: great food, craft breweries, shopping, and entertainment for the whole family. So no matter how you travel, by car, plane, boat, or stagecoach, we look forward to welcoming you to Oklahoma City in 2024.
Kind of as a funny side note of that, when we were filming this, the sheriff could not get out of that stagecoach. So we were trying to make a smooth transition. Didn't happen. So we had to do a black fade to get him in there. So anyway, again, this was really just for informational purposes. And really, again, it's intended to be an invitation for you all. This event does require credentials. So if anybody from your team or you would like to come, let me know. I can make sure we take care of that. I know that the sheriff would be honored to be able to recognize you all at our General Assembly, which will see the largest gathering of people. Again, some major keynote speakers will be in there. Again, so I know he'd be honored to be able to recognize you in front of that whole group. So happy to take any questions. Again, it was just for information, but wanted to put that out there again as a formal invitation to the board.
So June 24th through the 27th, Oklahoma City will be the safest place in the entire world.
Yeah, I would think so, but
There'll be more ammunition and guns in Oklahoma City than any
Yeah,
other city
yeah.
in the entire country.
That's a great video
Wonderful.
and really wonderful for Oklahoma City and all that we'll bring. Is it something that we do need to add to our watch list? Will there be any county expenses?
There's not. No, this the budget for this thing is all provided through the National Sheriff's Association. They're very well funded. Yeah, so it's a pretty big event. They've again they do these things about 7 years in advance. So they choose a site. So there's a lot that's. I'm on a phone call probably twice a week at this point, just because we are nearing home plate. So, but it'll be a big event, and we're really seeing a good, number of people sign up. I think we're just central. We're less than a day's drive from 95% of the country. So whenever these conferences are stuck on a coast, I think it's a little bit harder for some of the agencies that can't airfare, because again, you're going to have agencies that literally have 2,500 square miles with 6 deputies, all the way from the LA County Sheriff flying on a private plane. I mean, so you're going to have a massive gamut of people that come in. So
I would remind you to remind Tommy when he's speaking to all of them, shoot lower, Sheriff, he's riding the Shetland.
yeah.
Okay, is there a motion to receive his report?
So move.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
John, are you taking this item? Healthcare provider?
So this is our standard renewal for Connect benefits. As a reminder, they're our 100% covered network. It gives us access to the surgery center, the heart hospitals at a deeply discounted rate compared to a normal health plan network. A surgery there costs at the surgery center costs $6,000. In comparison, it would cost $30,000 plus at any local hospital. So Connect benefit saves our members and us a lot of money on the health plan every year. They've held their rates for this renewal, so same cost, no increase in cost. And no changes to the agreement.
Motion to approve.
I have a question.
Okay.
Sure.
On the benefits, which are great, but I do know that there are some like body scan or a chiropractor or maybe a few others where there's maybe only one option. Are we looking to expand our providers? And if somebody wanted to participate, how do they go about doing
Sure.
that, especially if the cost is the same or lower?
Sure. So now Connect Benefit has multiple providers for everything under their contract. And when providers want to join their network, we just ask them to contact Connect Benefits. They vet them, they give them their fee schedule. If they qualify, they can get in their network.
Okay, so we are looking at having a discussion to potentially expand our providers, because if you live the south part of the county, you may not want to drive all the way to Edmond to one option, that can be a challenge. So I would love to maybe further the discussion with you on seeing how we can expand and maybe be a little bit proactive in those conversations.
Absolutely.
Further questions? If not, is there a motion?
Yes.
Okay, and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Now the Health Smart.
Sure. HealthSmart has been with us through a myriad of changes over the years, from Mutual Assurance to HealthSmart, through acquisitions for over 30 years. And we've had basically the same team, at least behind the scenes, for 20 years. HealthSmart was purchased over a year ago by UMR TPA. They're one of the biggest TPAs in the country. And they bring us a lot more resources than we have now. So we've basically been operating under UMR through HealthSmart since the acquisition. I want to point out some really good things that they offer that we don't have now, and they're one of the only ones that can offer this. They have a carrier-based network nationwide, which means it expands our access to providers, and also they have over 6 million members under their TPA, so they have a lot more negotiating power than a regular health plan network. Just to boil that down in numbers, they looked at our claims for the last 12 months. Under their network, we would have spent $2.6 million less because they have lower rates with their providers. So it's a win-win-win for everybody. They have more technology for our members, mobile apps, web-based technology. But this transition will go into effect 7/1 for the renewal. And the good news is, too, they've held their rates, so there's no increase in cost. As a reminder, TPAs make up a small percentage of our overall cost, about 2% of our plan spend, very small percentage, but they make a huge difference, especially in the new network that they offer. They did a disruption on our network to see, are all our providers we use now in their network? They are, plus many, many more. And then they have lower pricing too. And again, they looked at the last 12 months of claims data, and we would have paid $2.6 million less. So that's going to be really needed going into next year. So it's a win-win for everyone. Members will receive new cards, prior to the 7-1 change that has UMR information, how to access their mobile app. And again, the people behind the scenes will still be working on our account and have been for years, paying our claims, account management. It's just really just a rebranding into the UMR platform, which I'm really excited about, because if we were going with any other carrier, they wouldn't allow the county to access their provider network and do things like connect benefits. This is the only carrier network around that will allow us to access, lower price providers on the side as a bolt-on piece. So it's a win-win for everyone.
Motion approved.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, John. This is a transfer.
Yes, Commissioner, this will just get us lined out for the remainder of the year in our salary account. Move it to item.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Similar item for emergency management.
I'll move the item.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Next item is for conference for the emergency management team.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
This is for the JJC lobby project.
These are ARPA funds. Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And Mr. Wilkerson has this item again. Do you want it? Just a transfer. This is the $1 million.
I move the item.
Push it back. Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any citizens wishing to speak? Seeing none, board comments. Sheriff?
No, thank you.
I just want to say thank you again to Albert and Jennifer for all the work that you guys have done. I know it's been a lot, and you guys have done a really great job. So I appreciate all the work that you've done, and everybody, Christy and Cody and everyone. And John, I know you've spent a lot of hours with them. So just continue to work with them. If you have questions, just go straight to their office and build that relationship with them, because they're doing a great job and they're always available to learn and to answer questions.
No, thank you.
I'll just echo that also. It's a big county, lots of money. Yeah, maybe not lots of money, but anyway, lots of requirements that we do have to fund, so I.
No, thank you.
Today is former Senator Dave Herbert's birthday. If you happen to know him, give him a call and say hi.
What is it? 104?
105, I think.
We'll
Well, that's
have,
how long he was in the Senate.
we'll have remembrance, of course, tomorrow for being April 19th. And everybody who wishes to go down to the memorial, it starts at 8:45 tomorrow morning. Any new business? Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I made the stat line.